Ladies and gentlemen, it is now 6:30 p.m., and a quorum of members is present. So the meeting of the Board of Education of the School District of New Berlin is called to order. Please call the roll.
Ms. Crosby? Mr. Helmer?
Here.
Ms. Connick? Mr. Kurth?
Here.
Ms. Schultz?
Here.
Mr. Seidel?
Here.
Ms. Wondricek?
Here.
Ms. Connick said she wouldn't be able to attend this evening. Now I would entertain a motion to recess to closed session.
Madam President, I move to recess into closed session pursuant to Section 19.851C E and F of the Wisconsin statutes to consider the approval of closed session minutes of November 28th, B, the employment services report, C, finalize superintendent goals for next year.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Kurth and a second by Mr. Helmer. Please call the roll.
Mr. Kurth? Mr. Helmer?
Yes.
Ms. Crosby?
Yes.
Ms. Schultz?
Yes.
Mr. Seidel?
Yes.
Ms. Wondricek?
Yes.
We're moving into closed session. We'll return to open session around 7 o'clock. It is now 7:22, and we are returning from closed session into open session. In recognition of the serious and important nature of our efforts here, we will join in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. For all those who are able, please rise. And now for those who wish to prepare for the meeting, we will have a moment of silence. This is a public meeting of the Board of Education. Prior to this meeting, notice was given to the public last Friday by providing the agenda to the City Library. The agenda was also posted on the district website. A copy of the agenda was forwarded to the Journal Sentinel, the Waukesha Freeman, and the Waukesha Now, all of which have filed requests for all public notices. We have a couple of recognitions this evening. So we have the Chief Financial Officer, Patrick Miller, who was named the WASB 2022 Business Services. Well, he received the WASB 2022 Businesses Services Award.
So we have neglected to necessarily bring you our award-winning administrative team as to be recognized at the board level. And we felt that, like we recognize our students and our staff, we should probably start doing the same thing with our administrative team as well. So as I look around the room, you got Jordan Napoli, who was an athletic director of the year. Now he's our associate principal. And then, and I know that as I look at our other administrators, we are invited often to present at regional, state, and national organizations of our respective groups. And every once in a while, we also get awards that come with that. Patrick is part of WASBO, which is the School Business Officials Association. And during their fall get-together, Patrick was granted the award of the 2022 Business Services Award presented to the School District of New Berlin, and particularly to Patrick as our business official for the school nutrition program upgrades. So not only does the school district get recognized, obviously our individual administrators get recognized. And if you go to some of these things, there's quite a few people in attendance, not only other business officials, other superintendents, as well as other vendors from throughout the state and beyond. So it's certainly an honor for the work that Patrick and his team have done. Patrick, can you just give a brief explanation of what this award was all about?
Sure. So last year I participated in a WASBO Leadership Academy, Wallace Zastrow Leadership Academy. And it's a very small cohort group that is selected throughout WASBO to participate in this. And there's a project that's done by all, I believe there were 20 business managers and other directors that were in this. Each one of us was required to put a project together, and out of those 20 projects, they choose one of them as the business services project of the year. And I just so happened to, apparently I did a project that they were pleased with, and they surprised me by saying that they chose my project to be the representative this year. So the project is, we're hopefully over the next 3 years going to be doing some exciting things in the food service department to expand our offerings and bring school nutritional services, not just the students, but to the staff and the community.
Congratulations, Patrick. Next, and certainly not least, would be I'd like to have Dave Cody please come up. Dave, and formerly Ann, who also had worked in the communications department as our public folks, they actually have started receiving these awards since Dave and Ann actually came on board, which has now been 7 years ago?
7.
Almost 7 years ago. I had not known about the Spectrum Awards, but just like in Patrick's situation, Dave and formerly Ann have what's called the Wisconsin School Public Relations Association, otherwise known as WISPRA, which is their respective organization with their colleagues from throughout the state. Sometimes we win the top award, sometimes we win merit awards, sometimes we win multiple awards. Well, this year we received Best in Category for our annual report, which is something that we send out every year right around September. And I think, Dave, we've received recognition for that publication pretty much on an annual basis.
Yeah.
And then the other one was for I believe it was the mid-year report last year. And again, we started doing mid-year reports that go out, and these go out to every community member in New Berlin. Because of postage and to limit our postage costs, they actually do go out to the West Allis School District portion of New Berlin, but they go out to every residence. And these publications are basically, they are reviewed by basically other professionals in this various groups, so other communications folks, and they judge and determine who receives these excellence awards. And once again, if you go into Ann and Dave's office, you will see I think we're going to have to build another wall so that we can hang up more of these awards for them. But certainly very proud of the work that Dave does. In fact, we now have over 6,500 subscribers to The Edge, which is our online publication, and continues to grow. And in fact, Dave sent out a post today, encouraging people to continue to sign off on that. So we certainly are in very good hands when it comes to communications in the School District of New Berlin. Dave, can you talk a little bit about it, please?
Sure. So the Whisper Awards that Joe mentioned, there's usually about 10 or 15 different categories each year. We usually only submit maybe 2 or 3 things max. I don't think any more than 3 we've ever submitted. And typically, Ann and I do very well at the. It's nice though, and I've said this before. It's not about the award at all. It's really about the stories that we get to tell. We did get a writing award the last couple of years, and those were just really cool stories that happen in our district. And when we get a chance to tell them, we love to do that. And it's nice to be recognized because of the story that we got to tell for those awards, not necessarily the awards themselves. So,
thank you very much, Dave. Congratulations. Dave, we'll take a picture with you afterwards with the award. Patrick, you too? Okay. Selfie. Yeah.
I totally forgot my phone today, too, of all day.
Okay. Sorry. Thank you, Janet.
Thank you. Okay, so then we have a hearing to request a waiver for transportation contract reimbursement amount.
Yeah, so we are required on an annualized basis to determine what our amounts will be for our transportation contracts. So as you are aware, we are required to provide transportation to all students in the School District of New Berlin, including private school students. What you have, actually, did we include that document for the board? So you should have in your packet the document that we basically we're considering this portion of the meeting the public hearing, so it's essentially, because that's what we're required to do, is have a hearing. It was noted on our agenda, and again, seeking your approval to keep the rate as we have it. Patrick?
After the year of the COVID shutdown, there was a significant decline in the number of riders that we have for district transportation for the school buses. DPI in that first year gave districts the ability to calculate the contract amount in 2 different ways and choose whichever was lower, because for most districts that number went up significantly, and by significantly I mean almost doubling. I had a conversation with the Department of Public Instruction this year and said, for example, I brought up the fact that the interpretation of the statute is very old and antiquated, does not really apply to districts like the School District of New Berlin, who, whether or not all of the students ride the bus or not, we have to have routing for all of those students, because any student can call in the morning and say, I need to take the bus today. And so we have to have the ability to do that, which impacts our transportation cost. And so DPI said we're not the only district that is feeling this pinch, and encouraged us to apply for this waiver. Again, what it will allow us to do is extend the amount one more year, and then I will continue to work with DPI on perhaps some modifications to how this calculation is being done throughout, and this would be throughout the state.
So this was based on last year's ridership. Is this year's up from last year?
It is up a bit, but
Not as much as we
again,
expected.
yeah, it's still going to be like a 75% increase. If we were to go through the traditional calculation
Yeah.
that DPI set, 30 years ago. So,
So we would recommend, essentially, we obviously are interested to see if there's anybody that's, has any commentary from the public related to our proposal. And we would like the board to move forward with this based on the feedback we've provided, and if any others are willing to provide any additional input, we'd ask that that be done at this time.
Do we have a quick dollar amount if this doesn't get approved, what the impact will be to our district? How many parent contracts we have, I guess, times the $300 difference or whatever that is?
right, I don't have the exact number of the parent contracts. I believe it is somewhere around, I'm going to say it's a little north of 150. And the increase would be, and again, don't quote me on this, I didn't bring those numbers along with me. The increase is going to be north of $50,000. So this doesn't change the fact that the contracts are going to be paid out in the same way that the district has always paid them out. It's just that they're granting us a waiver for an additional year on the calculation. And I should also say, this is a request for the waiver. It doesn't necessarily mean that the waiver is going to be accepted. But this is the first step, and we're doing it at this point in time because it will give us ample time to get those contracts out should DPI either approve the waiver or not approve the waiver.
And actually, as I look at the way that we have it on the agenda, really, it's just a matter of listening to the public comment, and at this time, I would request any additional public comment. And if not, then basically we'll just assume that you are good with the waiver and that Janet will be signing on behalf of the school board.
We have to vote, though, right?
I don't think you necessarily need to.
Okay.
You can if you want.
No, I think we should. Let's just officially take a vote then.
Okay.
Do I have a motion then to approve this request for waiver?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Kurth, a second by Mr. Helmer. All those in favor, raise your right hand. The motion passes. I realize I skipped over privilege of the floor, but we don't have anybody, correct? Okay. President's message. I just want to thank everybody for waiting for us. I know we ran a little bit late, so I appreciate your patience. And then we have the administrative team report.
We'll start with Simon. Updates from Eisenhower and fresh off a state championship soccer win that he was a part of.
Well, good evening. Thank you for that, Mr. Garza. Last week, students returned from Thanksgiving break, and they were really eager to dive back into the classroom. And with only about less than 2 months left until the end of the semester, a lot of classes are starting big final projects. For example, seniors in their English composition classes have begun their final research paper, which is really one of the largest and final projects of their high school journey. And this essay is really great because it gives seniors so much flexibility to be creative and really prepare them for what they're going to experience in college. AP Euro students are participating in what they like to call a scientist salon. Every student is going to choose a historical scientist or philosopher, and they're going to have a potluck and discuss modern day topics from the perspective of that historical figure. In Spanish 5 classes, students are studying culture in Argentina and South America, especially the effect of sports on culture. And this really pairs along great with the World Cup because students are having riveting discussions in the classrooms about how the sport of soccer affects culture in different countries. In physics classes, students are learning about circular motion. To demonstrate this, Mr. Estrepo is having all of his classes do a unique and creative lab called the Flying Pig Lab. Students attach wings to pig models and fly them in circles from the ceiling to model circular motion. Despite only being in the first semester, seniors are already feeling graduation coming up. They've ordered their purple cap and gown and are starting final preparations for the 2023 graduation. This past weekend, Eisenhower Theater put on their performance of Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer Jr., and the Winter Wonderland of the Eisenhower Auditorium became full of holiday cheer for both student performers and the audience. 4 seniors, Jake McDowell, Adam Herthy, Kyla Koski, and Ella Wenlick, went to their elementary school, Ronald Reagan, to speak as their role models. They talked with the elementary students and answered questions about how to be safe in high school. Last month was Native American Heritage Month, and to celebrate, a few Culture Club members cooked fry bread for students to eat and appreciate Native American history and culture. This Friday, Eisenhower is participating with the Red Cross to host a blood drive. This year, the goal is 63 donors of either students, family, or friends. This event is truly amazing because each donor can supply enough blood to save up to 3 lives. All the help towards this event is greatly appreciated, and the students know that they can far surpass their goal. Also, with the remainder of the month, the Student Union is calling it the Countdown to the Holidays. Led by the Student Union, they will have a food drive and days addressed every day correlating with the holiday spirit. In addition to the food drive, this Wednesday, there will be boxes out for winter coat donations. The Eisenhower esports team recently beat New Richmond in the first round of the Wisconsin High School Esports Association playoffs, led by senior captain Arya Patel. They will play again tomorrow in the second round against Elkhorn. This is the first year that Eisenhower's had an esports team, and it has quickly been engaged by many students. Also, many more students have become interested in signing up for the upcoming winter season. And finally, this Thursday is the highly anticipated Ike versus West basketball doubleheader. Both the girls and boys varsity teams will compete back-to-back at New Berlin West, with the girls tipping off at 6 o'clock and the boys tipping off at 7:30. Thank you.
Thank you. And the superintendent report, or update, I should say.
Yeah, just a few items. Notice that Simon didn't mention the countdown that seniors have, nor the fact that seniors probably already have senioritis as well. So, but thank you very much, Simon, for your update. And again, for those of you that don't know, Simon was on the soccer team that Eisenhower won. We're hoping to recognize them at an upcoming board meeting. But pretty remarkable that Coach Datka, who is the girls' Ike coach as well as the boys' coach, has won back-to-back soccer titles. You know, they won last spring with the girls' team, and then this fall with the boys' team, and certainly was an incredible ride for the boys' team this spring. First championship in school history for the boys, so pretty remarkable accomplishment. I also wanted to mention that we certainly have some things that we are going to be updating the board based on conversations that we've had. So based on recent conversations, we plan on bringing more timely data information to the board on our academics. So typically our cadence has been, we just did a large data presentation from our teaching and learning staff just at the last meeting. And then we typically would wait until June, but we are looking at adding several more presentations throughout the calendar year instead, to kind of just maybe partial those off by either testing the tests themselves and or by grade level and student ability level. But other than that, the only thing that I would mention is that we certainly want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Thank you.
Thank you. And then next on the agenda is the consent agenda, which includes notice and the approval of minutes of the board meeting on November 28th. And there's also the discussion and approval of the Girls Who Code Club. Are there any items that should be pulled out for separate consideration? Hearing none, do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Seidel and a second by Mr. Helmer to approve the consent agenda as presented. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion passes. On to our regular agenda. We have new course proposals. It's our second read and approval.
We did not receive any additional comments, questions, or concerns. Therefore, we would recommend approval of the courses as presented at the last meeting.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Helmer, and I'll say a second by Mr. Seidel, to approve. Is there any discussion? Hearing none then, let's vote. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion passes unanimously. And then we have discuss approve policy 8390, animals on district property, which is replacing current policy 5144. Do you have anything to share with us before we make the motion?
Nothing additional from what we presented at the last meeting.
Do I have a motion?
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Kurth and a second by Mr. Helmer to approve the policy 8390. Is there any discussion? All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion passes. And then discuss approve policy 9150, school visitors. Do I have a motion?
And again, nothing
sorry, you have
different,
nothing.
nothing different there either from the last meeting.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Helmer and a second by Mr. Seidel to approve. Any discussion? All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion passes. Then discuss approve policy 9160, public attendance at school events. And there's no changes there either?
We actually did want to mention in this policy itself, I do know that the board did approve a policy provision allowing us to sell alcohol at certain events. This one is not necessarily in direct conflict with that policy because of the fact that we would not be selling alcohol at school events ever. But, based off of a question that Janet had raised, we did provide kind of a revised policy in your packet that just clarifies, just to make sure that people are aware that essentially there is that other policy out there, but certainly are not in direct conflict with each other. So I guess, whichever one you want to approve, we're good with. But, based off of Janet's initial, not concern, but bringing to our attention, clarifying it, I guess, doesn't hurt. So maybe, I guess we would propose approving the amended one as presented.
Here. Not yet. We don't have a motion. He's going to do it.
Yeah. I move to approve the alternate, policy 9160, Neola alternate public attendance at school events as presented.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Kurth and a second by Mr. Seidel to approve the alternate. Is there any discussion? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion passes. Then we have some action on items discussed in closed session. So one of the things we were discussing was the superintendent goals for 2023. So we just recently, as a board, completed the superintendent evaluation, which included the 2022 goals. So now it's time to start setting 2023 goals. And so I'm just going to read off the goals that we agreed to, and then we're going to officially approve them. So the first goal is academics. Mr. Garza will increase staff job satisfaction and student achievement, and he'll be doing that by working on the response rate for the staff survey. And we're also going to be tracking some data on on academics. And then we have our second one, which will revolve around the budget, and that is where Mr. Garza will direct more funding to go directly to the classroom. We're going to take a look at class sizes in that one. And then community and communication. Mr. Garza will improve relationships with coaches, parents, and students who participate in athletics and activities. And we're going to focus on comparing the onboarding process for coaches compared to our neighboring school districts, and also looking to increase the participation in the end-of-season questionnaire that goes out to both students and parents. So do I have a motion to approve the superintendent's 2023 goals as presented?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Helmer, and I'll give this one to Mr. Kurth for a second. And we already did all of our discussion in closed session, so all those in favor, raise your right hand. So this one, motion passes. Thank you. So what we have left here are the future meetings and dates.
We do need
No,
approval of the
Wait, that's right. We
Employment-
have our
Employment Services
we had two-
report.
That's right, Employment Services Report. So do I have a motion to approve the Employment Services Report?
I move to approve the employment services report as presented.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Kurth and a second by Mr. Helmer. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion passes. Now we have future meetings and dates. Board meetings are generally held the second and fourth Mondays, beginning at 7 o'clock p.m. in the Eisenhower Commons, unless noted otherwise. So our next meeting is in January 9th, and that's set for 7 o'clock. And then Monday, January 23rd at 7 o'clock, and February 13th at 7 o'clock as well. There are some important dates to remember. Winter break is coming up. That's December 22nd through January 1st. There'll be no school. And there's also the New Year's Day holiday, January 2nd, no school. So I just wish everybody a Merry Christmas, a Happy New Year, Happy Holidays. And do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Helmer and a second by Mr. Seidel to adjourn. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion passes. This meeting is adjourned.